What's the fastest way to heal your hamstring? In this video, we're going to go through how you know whether you've torn your hamstring or not. What should you do in the first few days? What are the common mistakes people make? What needs to happen in order for you to sort it out and get back to your sport without breaking down again? Hi, my name is Tommy Brennan. I'm the owner of the Pain and Performance Clinic based in Dublin. So, tearing your hamstring is very frustrating for people and it's going to leave you out of action for a little while. Exactly how long depends. Generally anything from 2 to 6 weeks for the vast majority, depending on the extent of the damage. Usually most people will know that they've torn their hamstring because they'll have been sprinting or moving very fast and they'll have felt a sharp pinch or pain in the back of their leg that certainly stops them from being able to open up and sprint. So what happens then? In the first day or two, it's absolutely fine to take it quite easy. If it's very, very sore and you want to apply a little bit of ice to the area for the first day, you can do that. Generally then, as soon as possible, you need to start getting movement into that hamstring, but with very easy, gentle exercises early on. So after the first day or two, if you're able to cope with it, you're going to just microdose little bits of exercise throughout your day, even if it's a little bit sore. It has to be bearable, but what the research shows is it can be a little bit sore. We'll go through some of those exercises now. The only thing I would ask people not to do is to stretch your hamstring. You don't want to stretch a muscle that's been torn, and it's very common for people to be kind of testing it out and going like, what's it like? Oh, I can still feel it. And you can go through your day thinking that stretching helps it, but I really wouldn't overstretch your hamstring. So some of the early stage exercises that you might do in the first few days could be anything like, in your day, you're literally just doing 20 or 30 of these every hour. This is a very easy one for you to do. You can also do this one here where you're bringing your knee up and down. So these get blood flowing around the muscle without putting the hamstring under pressure at all. And another early stage strengthening exercise that you can do would be this one here, where you're lying on your back and again, lift your hips up. If you're okay with that, what you might do is lift the other leg off and you're going to feel that area work, and you might hold it for 5 to 10 seconds, take a little break and do repeated amounts of that just to get that leg working a bit. But if we think of your hamstring being stressed when your knee is up and your foot is out, that's what we want to avoid early stage. So in this position here, it's working, but it's in an extremely safe position. Over the first few days, you want to be getting a little bit of movement into it. To summarize it, ice for the first day if you want, but then you're going to start moving, microdosing exercise, some gentle movements and a little bit of strengthening, and try and avoid stretching it. That probably gets you to day 5 or 7. At that stage, if walking is pain-free, I certainly want you to be able to get back jogging. So get back jogging as soon as you can. The thing to avoid is high pace or high intensity. So literally going for a jog, you might jog for a few minutes, walk for a few minutes, see how that goes, and just gradually keep it at that pace and continue with that over the following few days before you start upping the pace with your runs. You also need to push on with your strengthening exercises. So some exercises that you might do in the sort of mid-stage one, like something we've done there already, but you're going to put the hamstring under a little bit more pressure. So instead of having it like this, you're going to move your leg out like that and hold it there in that position, keeping your foot relaxed, pushing your heel into the ground. And in this position here, I can feel my hamstring muscle working hard. Now, don't be worried about feeling a little bit of pain or discomfort. This is a muscle that has been torn and it needs to be made stronger, so you have to feel it working hard. A good way of knowing exactly how much of that to do is to do it on the other leg as well. So you might start off with 10 seconds on each leg and do 4 or 5 repetitions. That would be one set. But what you want to do as the days go on is any discrepancy that's there between the injured leg and the uninjured leg, you want to be bringing them to the same level. That's a very simple exercise that you can do to strengthen your hamstring there, and you're doing a little bit of running where your hamstring isn't being annoyed, but you're upping the pace a little bit as the days go on. Now, the end stage, or knowing whether your hamstring is okay and whether you can return to team training or playing, is one of the areas where people fall down on quite a bit. So if we take a look over here, just getting a little bit more specific with the running that you might do. So I've laid out 2 running drills here. So these are 14 meter runs, 21 meter runs and 45 meter runs. So you certainly need to be able to do this at say 50%, 60%, 70%, 80%. So what you might do is, once jogging is easy, you're going to go at 60% and what you could do is do 4 of those, 4 of those, 4 of those, And if that's fine, then the next day you go out running, try and up it by 10%. Here's another example here where you're running out, going around that cone, and then finishing back here. Rest for a while, do 10 of those runs. That'll be a set. And again, you have to go from 60% to 70% to 80% to 90%. Not on the same day, but as the days go on. It's a little running template that you can use. How you would fit this in with your exercises is, what you might do is do your run one day, do your rehab the next day, and then take a day off. So you're not running on a hamstring that's quite tired. Or if you're stuck for time, you can do your runs and then come in and do your hamstring exercises afterwards and then take the next day off. So it can be done in quite an effective amount of time. If you're thinking of it like that, do your running first, strengthen your hamstring afterwards, you're going to make it quite tired, take a rest day, and the following day you go and do it again. And you move on the pace of this by 10% when you feel you're up to it. The end stage is you need to be able to do all of this at 100% pace. So you tear your hamstring generally when your knee is up like that and you're pushing your foot out where your hamstring is working. That happens when you're sprinting. So you need to mimic those actions in order to fully resolve your hamstring. It can't all be done by just rehab. So you need both. You need rehab and you need running. Now, one of the mistakes people make is they get to be able to run at 80 or 90% and they think I'm absolutely fine, and they go back into competition or running against someone else, and that extra 10% makes all the difference. They haven't exposed their hamstring to this running and they haven't enough strengthening work done. When you feel you're okay, ideally if you waited one more week, there would be a drastic reduction in re-injury rate. So unless you're under major pressure, do all the strengthening exercises. Make sure you can do the same amount on the left leg as you can on the right leg. Get through these running programs at 100% pace. And then if you feel you've achieved all that, just follow that along for one more week, and that's getting you in a very good place where you get to return. 1 week of a delay there, not completely resting, but by doing this, working one day, take a rest the next day, work one day, take a rest the next day. Get a few more sessions of that done is going to really build your confidence, and it's also going to expose your hamstring to more demands that it needs to be able to cope with. So to summarize, some of the mistakes people make in terms of sorting out their hamstring is they stretch it too much and rest it too much initially. When you're getting to your latter stage, they rush back too quickly when they haven't sprinted at 100%. And to get there, you have to go 70%, 80%, 90%, 100%. As opposed, the final thing then, as opposed to stretching, you need to strengthen your hamstring. And like I said, this can take anything from generally 2 weeks to 6 weeks. Work it one day, take a rest the next day. If you're unsure about any of this, feel free to comment below or reach out and we'll be glad to help.